everyone, welcome to Infigon Talks. My name is Ramani Desai and I will be the host for today's interview. Infigon Talks is a part of Infigon Future's flagship program, where mentors from various institutes motivate and inspire aspiring students across the country. For today, a designer in making from National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. She's always on the look for knowledge and takes life adventures with an open and jovial attitude. She believes in living life to the fullest by observing, opening oneself up, and coming to decisions with a unique identity. We have with us Isha Tavre. Hello, Miss Isha. Welcome to Infigon Talks.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, Isha, you're currently studying design at the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So many of our viewers are new to this career. Basically, they know the careers that are involved in designing field, but they don't know the process that goes behind it. So therefore, I did a little bit research and came across this aptitude test called DAT, that is Design Aptitude Test. Something about it. How is this exam conducted? Criteria that are involved? How are the students evaluated in this exam? Any insights that you would like to give?
Okay, so design aptitude test is conducted for the entrance to any design institute. So there's no common test that's there. It depends on every different college. So the design aptitude test that's there for NID, that's my college. I can talk about it. Basically, what happens is there are 2 or 3 phases. It depends. They change the criteria a lot. So the first exam is a written exam where you have MCQs and you have a little bit of drawing, and I'll talk about what they want to test in that later. Then the second exam is a studio test where you're working with materials and you're doing audio visual tests and exploring and stuff. And the third one, if it's there, is there are group discussions or you have interviews where you show your portfolio or you talk to those people. So basically, behind all these entrance criteria tests, they want to just test a couple of things. That is, they want to see how you think, because design is all about the concept and thinking. They want to see if you can think outside the box, and they want to see if you have analytical skills, you are observational, how keenly observant are you, because it's very important as a designer to sort of, so design is all about the user and you're designing for someone, right? So when you want to design for someone, you need to do a little bit of research. So when you're doing research, you shouldn't be prejudiced towards something, you shouldn't be biased. And for you to not be that, you have to be very keenly observant, analyze all the data, and then also use your out of the box thinking skills to come up with solutions, and also be able to articulate things and understand things in a deeper way, which is not just seen to the eye, like read in between the lines basically. So they're going to test you on that. And in the first bit, they're going to see your MCQs and what you know about the world. Do you know what's going on around you and how updated you are? So it's basically general knowledge questions related to design or other stuff, also all current affairs. And you have the drawing part where they're asking you to make creative solutions. So it's not just to test how you draw, it's to test how you think, because they ask you questions like you're a fly on the wall and in a museum, and draw what you see. So you have to actually imagine being a fly or whatever they've asked. And sometimes even they ask you to ask. So for my entrance test, there was a question which said, there's a fire on the first floor of a building, a mother, a 4-year-old son, and a 6-year-old son are stuck. You have only one scooter, one ladder, and a 15-foot rope. What do you do? How do you get them? Draw it out. So it's not just about your drawing skills, it's about how you think. And in the second test, it's more of they make you listen to audios, and for 3 or 5 seconds, and then you write what you think that audio is. So it can be like the moving of a war tank, it can be lightning striking, or it can be they're very different audios. Like pretty tough actually. And then you also work with materials, and they ask you to come up with solutions. So they'll give you a certain material kit over there when you go for the test, and they ask you to
What
say,
do you mean by material kit? Can you just give us an example? What
so
did they
for my
provide you,
thing,
maybe?
yeah, every time it's a little different, but for my time it was a couple of rubber bands. I had an aluminium sheet this big, then I had two big balloons which you could blow up, and yeah, that's about it. That's all that I had. And then I had to make a toy which moves or makes sound,
Oh,
or does both. So, and you have like 30 minutes for it. So you think of how
that's
you
no
do that.
less.
Yeah, actually, now that you think of it.
Yeah.
And every time, so then they give you, let's say, a couple of papers, and they give you one small something else, and they say, this is a brick, and you make a structure which supports the weight of this brick, or a soap or something. So you really have to think. And in this, they want to see your knowledge of the material. They want to see how you understand the strengths and the weaknesses of whichever material is given to you. So if it's an aluminium sheet, I know that it can bend, okay, but I also know that it's very sharp, so it can
Yeah.
cut. So how do I use it in a way that, or if it's a rubber band, if I stretch too much, or I can't fold it, but I can use its tensile strength, things like that. They want to test that, and they also want to see how you handle it and how you think. And
That's great.
in
Yeah,
the
you were
studio
saying.
yeah, in the interview round, they will ask you questions, and they won't be skill based questions as such, because the aim is not to see what you already know, it's to see if you're ready to take more information when you come to college. Because when you go
Okay.
inside, they teach you drawing from scratch, like right from drawing straight lines to everything.
Oh.
So it's not about you know how much you know, it's about, are you ready to think, what kind of person you are, how do you tackle problems and stuff like that.
That's great. A complete evaluation of a student is done through this exam, I feel. You know, various level to identify students' potential is also very great. And as you said, it's not what you know, it's what you think or what you are willing to learn. That's really amazing. I feel every college should have this test, such tests, because yeah, it is completely needed, I feel, because each and every aspect of a student is evaluated on the basis of which they think a student is qualified or no. So that's really amazing. So as you mentioned about this criteria, when a complete evaluation of a student is done, okay, through this exam, so after one gets qualified in that exam as well as in the college, that is what I mean. So what are the subjects involved in the curriculum later? You can talk about your curriculum as well. Is there any choice or to select your specialization, or maybe any electives that are involved in it, anything basically? So you can go ahead.
So basically, when you get into college, your first year is foundation, which you have to do. It's compulsory. And in foundation, they
Okay.
actually prepare you for design thinking and the basics of every discipline that is there in the college and in design. They give you the basics of it. So they give you color and composition. They give you a little of material handling. They give you a little of, how to do research. They give you a little of form and structures. So whichever stream you choose after that, you will be helped, like your foundation will help you. Your foundation is literally your foundation. I mean, it helps you throughout your life. And even now I refer back to some of my foundation courses which we had, and apply them. And because of this, because of us having a separate foundation and then choosing our streams, it's very interdisciplinary. So it's not like as soon as you start college you're into one field and you just don't know what's happening in the other fields. You have a basic of everything. So even if I'm an industrial designer today, I can do basics of logo design and stuff, and my friends who are into graphics can do a little bit of furniture. And I mean, it's very interdisciplinary. The system for this is, you have your foundation year and you have your evolution criterias, wherein your jury is there. So three panel members will be there in your jury. They will be one permanent faculty from your college, one visiting faculty that has or hasn't taken your course, and one industry expert who is at the top of their field in whichever industry. So suppose it's a textile designer or it's a ceramic and glass designer, they will probably be working with some very big companies like, let's say, Apple, or they'll be working with Tata or somewhere like that, and they'll be designing stuff, and they'll come and then you show your entire work. So juries happen twice a year, mid sem and at the end of the sem. So you have 2 semesters. You show all your work on boards and whatever you've done, material work, and you explain your learning. So you explain from this course to this what I've learned and how I've applied it in other courses and how my growth has been. It's not about how much you know, it's more about where you started from and where you are now. So that, and you also have courses. So you don't have subjects, you have courses. They're different courses, and no, you can't choose them in the first year. Actually, you can't choose them, but they're all round. They've thought about what a student needs, and all of that is there. So a cumulative average of both juries and your course evaluations give you a grade point. So CGPA is there, and then at the end of the year, you're given 8 preferences, that are 8 disciplines. You need to tick from your first choice to your last choice, and according to your, then it's a computer based system. According to your grades, whatever your CGPA is, you will be allotted your discipline according to your preference. So if I have a grade that is more than average, I will get my first choice. But if I have a grade that's, let's say, average, I might get my second or third. If I am doing really badly, then I'll get, my lower preferences. It works that way.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, so that's actually wonderful. I feel that a complete, everything, all the aspects are taken into mind in order to, build those 3 to 4 years which a student goes through. A designer in making, that is what I mean. So that's really amazing. And this fast pacing generation actually needs that, I feel, because many of the people need a practical knowledge to everything, because theory sometimes, you know a certain thing, but how you don't know how to apply it. So that is wonderful that every whatever every application of it is taught, and in each course. So that's amazing. But I was talking about this generation, but artists cannot work on deadlines, I feel. But sadly, today's corporate world and the colleges think otherwise. So, in order to meet your deadlines, how do you find inspiration that quick to, build something? As you said, you were allotted only 30 minutes in your evaluation, the thing you mentioned. So how in that 30 minutes how did you get that inspiration, and you evaluated, or certain things, and you build that project? So how did you do that?
So first of all, I'm sorry, but artists and designers are different. Artists, basically, the difference between them is, yeah. So artists are people who work for themselves. Their inspiration comes from within or from things they see outside, and it may not have a cause, always. But when designers work, it is strictly for people. It is very user centric. Anything and everything that you design, may it be in the visual field or may it be in the industrial design field, is always for some end user. You're catering to an audience always. So basically, you're putting yourself in their shoes and designing for their needs. May it be, if I'm designing let's say a spoon, then it's not for myself, it's for someone else, and I will look at that kind of audience. I will probably interview them and do research on them and stuff like that. And if I am designing for someone who is from the village, then I will have to go on and do research about that, put myself in their shoes, because maybe I have never lived at a village. You have to kind of have this empathy. Empathy is a very big design principle that, I mean, it's the basis of everything that we do. Because if we don't have empathy, if we're not being able to separate ourselves from our own thinking process and put ourselves in the user's shoes, we will not be able to make solutions that fit the user properly, because we will assume that this is what they need and give them something that they probably don't even need. About inspiration, I think and time management, I think in the first year, to be very honest, you really struggle with that. It's very tough. I mean, you have been programmed for something completely different all your lives, and suddenly you're going in this college where everything is stimulating, but it's too fast and you can't, live up. But as you go to your second year or third year, you kind of make a process for yourself. So everybody has an individual process. All my batchmates and I have something that works for me, like if I am
Yeah.
working in the morning and I am being productive in this time and I am coming to a solution like this, my batchmates may not be doing that, but they work in a
No,
different way.
definitely.
So we develop a process. It's very individual, and the basis of it is basically you always have a design. You have process. It is always there. So the thing is, first identify a problem, then do research, then ideate, then do prototyping, then test the prototype, then get feedback, and then re-ideate, and then redefine, and stuff like that. It goes on. This is a basic design process, and you go along that only. So when you're going along that, you can probably work backwards and chart it out and see, okay, I'm starting from the back and I'm seeing that I have 30 minutes for this, so the last 5 minutes should be for this only. I should be writing what I've done, or you work backwards. And
Yeah.
actually it's not that tough when you get into a habit of it.
Yeah, definitely. Right. So we have learned a lot today. I myself learned a lot today. I guess many out there people must have not known, and that's very informative. Thank you for correcting me. I feel because many of the people still may have or may not know the difference between an artist and a designer. I myself being one of them. So thank you for correcting me. And yeah, so I was as you said about the inspiration, yeah, definitely creative energy should flow in order to create art, and the time of it should be evaluated on the basis of that person's creative process rather than talking for the whole community or any bunch of group of people. So yeah, but sometimes I feel energy hits you different, and you make certain projects that you're totally proud of. So would you like to share certain projects you are proud of and why you're proud of them? You can share your screen for the better understanding for the viewers and everyone present in the meeting.
Okay, I'll just share my screen.
Sure, sure. You can just
um,
explain each and every project so that we have a better understanding. Yeah.
okay, so one thing that I'm really proud of is so Fab India, right? They had this
Yeah.
competition where we had to redesign an existing product with couple of different tags. Like they wanted it more multi-utility, more vibrant, Indian inspired, more sustainable or eco-friendly, and that fits a certain age of clients. They wanted it to fit millennials who are earning a lot now, but they're young. They're in their 20s or 30s probably. So
Yeah, right.
we designed this table called Zo. It's a bedside table, and Zo is from the Marathi word Zhop. So Zhop means to sleep, and
Sweet.
a bedside table is something related to sleep. This was the original table from Fab India, and this is what I redesigned. So
That's
basically,
amazing.
thank you. So the material is entirely bamboo, and these are bamboo strips. Then you have bamboo boards, and this is solid bamboo for the legs. And you're not using any other material over here. It's just that much.
Okay.
And I have given product specifications and the dimensions according to the ergonomics. What is the normal bed size of Indian households? How much space really is required? How heavy should it be? Because Indians have a habit of cleaning a lot, so you can't have it just sitting.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, so after a little bit of research, I thought about it. And also, since it's for millennials, they will be using their laptops or reading something. So this space over here is for keeping your laptops or your books or your chargers. It will basically work as a nightstand. You can also put your medicines and other stuff in the drawer. And so this was the material specification that I told you about: the bamboo strips over here, bamboo board here, and solid bamboo here. Then
Okay.
the thought process behind why I did what I did was because the tags were multi-utility and vibrant and Indian inspired and eco-friendly. So
Yeah.
I went to bamboo because eco-friendly and Indian inspired both come into this. Eco-friendly because bamboo is obviously eco-friendly, and the craft of bamboo has been in India since ages, and it's traditional to so many cultures in our country. So
Yeah.
using bamboo uh, helps us realize the value of both. And to make it multi-utility, I redesigned it in a way that it would store more things. It would So you can store on top of it, you can store in the middle, and you can also store in the drawers. And
Hmm.
to make it vibrant, I thought of making the knobs of the drawer and the inside of the strips colorful, because Indian color is something that goes way back. That's
Yeah,
how I thought of
definitely.
doing it. And then when it came to the packaging, I thought of the all-round product. So right from the beginning, how it's going to be made, what the sizes will be, right up to the packaging and how it will be delivered, and who is going to use it, how they're going to use it. So the uh, part
Is it
of the drawer,
detachable?
yeah, it is. So the part that comes below, these will have threaded bamboo legs and threading over here also. It'll be packaged like
Yeah.
this. And so it'll be easier to store and transport, because when it's like that, you're just scared it might topple or something, and it takes more space also. So this way it'll take lesser space. Users can choose to assemble this, uh, put the threaded legs in, or just use it like this. I'll just go back and show you. So you can use it like this, or you can use it like this. It depends on your use, but so you have a choice on that. And it's not very hard to assemble them, because you just have to, like, you screw a bottle cap on, you just screw them on. That's it. So
Mm.
this was one thing, and I won um, the first prize for it. This is the
Oh,
certificate.
that's great. Oh, that's great, amazing. I was actually, when you were speaking about it, I was quite awed by it. A lot of thought process you've put into it in order to make a product, and that's like really amazing. Keeping in mind the tradition of India, the people, the bed sizes, and each and every right from the packaging. I think each and every aspect you have evaluated, and that's amazing. I feel yeah, I'm really wowed by it. So
Thank
definitely
you so
first prize
much.
is really it's no surprise that you won a prize for it.
Thank you so much. Fab India might just start making. They'd written it in their original when the competition was there. They said, if you win, then we will start producing your whatever you've designed under your name. But I haven't heard back from them yet. But let's see. So
Oh,
there's
fingers
one more
crossed.
thing.
I hope they revert back to you.
Yes. So there was one more thing that I wanted to show you. This was about a recent course. It's called Materials and Innovations, where we had to innovate on some different materials. So it was
Okay.
there for 2 or 3 weeks. The material I chose was, so my brief was to make waste baskets that are eco-friendly, and I wanted to upcycle coconut waste that comes. So then I prepared a table of contents where I wanted to look at what the appearance and color and sourcing, where will I source it from, the testing, and I gave some standards for myself to begin with, and then I started working with the material. So I said these are the objectives that I need to meet, and then I worked backwards. So I took coconut husk, and then I had to bind it. So first of I started making a composite out of it. So you boil coconut husk in rice water and uh, you know uh, rice flour, and then you make a composite like this, and then you make structures like this. I tested the strength a little bit, and I thought that probably using corn flour would be better because the binding is more for corn flour. So I used a couple of other ingredients and came up with
Yeah.
similar kind of composite. And then there were molds. This is just a makeshift one. I have to make a final product yet. And then they look like this. It took like 70 hours to dry or so, but once it dried, this is a 1 kg bottle, like 1 liter bottle fully filled, and it took the weight, and I was just holding it like this, and so many pens also, and even this. So this was the process, and my final submission was this was a course. So my final submission was this. Meanwhile, we also had to do the costing of this right from the beginning, sourcing and all of that. So I branded it in the form of cocoa goods. I thought that we'd make coconut husk home goods. You can use it to make dry waste baskets or pen stands, or even it's just a material. So you can use it for tea coasters and table mats, and laptop ke niche rakhne ke liye mats and stuff like that. It depends.
Yeah.
So first of all, this is biodegradable and sustainable, and it's really strong. And this was how it looked when you put things on it. This is an unfinished product. This was me just testing it. And
Okay.
it does not break when it falls, and it's ergonomic, so you can hold it. All the forms will be thought of. It's not too big, it's not too small, and it doesn't slip also from your hand, and it can take tremendous
Okay.
amounts of weight. Like, I was surprised myself at how it's holding. And so this is the weight testing, and this is the
All
chart.
right.
So it will be it's a dry composite product. Don't use it in water. It will stay in water, but it will just make it a little weak. That's the drawback. And this was my submission for this course.
That's amazing. I really liked it. And the fact that it's biodegradable and eco-friendly, so that is something which I think everybody should start doing, and start using from now on, considering the era that we are in, which is surrounded by so much pollution, and we are at the verge of end. So I feel, yeah, that's really actually a good thought that I've put in, and yeah, that the product that you showed was really amazing.
So this is the at the beginning I told you that I had a content of table a table of contents
Yeah.
and objectives that I had to meet. So these were the met objectives. I have defined everything under each category here. The
Okay.
sourcing, how the performance under different climates, water resistance, how durable it is, the stability, the tensile strength, how you can dispose it. And we also had to do a product costing. So I've taken into consideration 500 units, let's say. And
Hmm.
this was the detailed costing sheet of it. And I also made an income statement. Let's say that I sold 500 units in a month. How would I
Hmm.
be earning? Like, I was thinking about it, and yeah, these were the calculations. So
That's a lot of work is put in, I guess, not only the designing part, but so much research, and everything of a little bit of everything is put into a design, I feel, because you have to do everything, in order to make a product to sell, and to think from others' perspective, and it should be cost affordable, and you have taken all those things into consideration. So yeah, a lot of work is put in, I feel.
I guess that's what you just get used to after a certain time. This is the last thing that I want to present. It's about a course that we had, which was visual narratives, which basically,
Okay.
I'll talk a little about the course. It was basically like you, uh, the story you kind of tell from your visual narratives, the
Okay.
different kinds of visuals that you see, and what kind of feeling you get from them. So our aim was to design a cafe. Everybody took a different theme. I took the theme of like when you get bored, a brain gym cafe. So when you get bored, when you're in a cafe waiting for your order, what will you be doing? And you could solve puzzles, riddles, you could have board games, you could collaborate with your friends, and play things. So
Yeah.
this was designed for college students, so it would be close to your college campus. You don't have to travel really far and waste time traveling. I wanted it to cater to Gen Z and millennials, and have a flow that as soon as you enter, you would know how to navigate through. You wouldn't be lost, and it would be fun, but would also give you a sense of learning, and it would foster creativity. This was the kind of color palette. This is how I thought the cafe would be. This is in plan view. I'll explain
Okay.
more about it. So basically, when you enter, you have this library over here. You can pick up a book and read it or solve things, and it'll have a range of books. Then over here, this wall is brain gym. So brain gym, and
Yeah.
you have a placard system over here where which you change every month. You can push your placards in, and here will be a prompt. So if there are colors that names of colors that are scrambled over here, you would just have color over here. So you know what to look for, and you can look at it from anywhere where you're sitting. So
Oh,
that is there. Over here, you have a kind of booth where there's a bamboo separation like this, and you have a kiosk where there are games already on it, like Peak or Brain Gym games or Flow Free or something that tests your analytical skills and stuff. You can just go and play your game till then, and it'll give you privacy because this will be there, but not completely
yeah.
isolate you. Then over here, you have a collaboration types area where every week you will have a prompt which says, okay, what is your favorite childhood memory or something like that. And then you can put your sticky notes on there, and you can even sit and read the sticky notes with your friends over here. So the bench will be here. And on the walls, you have did you know facts, or like fun facts and stuff like that. And here you have a dart area. So you can also go, and it'll be glass. You can go and play. um, you
Okay.
also have this arrow over here, which will tell you exactly from where you're situated, major countries or cities in the world, how much distance is there. So they point in the direction
Oh,
and they tell you the distance. And the kind of
that's
furniture that would
unique.
be used. The kind of furniture that would be used for the reception, and this is in the color palette. This is the bench that I've mentioned over here, and this is the kind of table, because you want it to be aesthetic, but you also wanted to be able to store board games below.
Yeah.
This is one more thing is the kind of table mat that you would get would be of recycled paper and would look like this. So you have a maze if you want to solve it, you have a riddle if you want to solve, and you have a doodle area. So you can just write, doodle around or whatever you want to. Your napkins also would have amazing facts and did you know and tongue twisters on them. So you won't get bored. You look at the napkin and stuff like that. And when you get
Yeah.
your bill, so when you make a bill above, let's say, a certain amount, whatever that amount is, 2 3K, whatever, you get a card along with that bill, and you have a riddle. And if you solve that riddle in like 5 minutes without any help, you get a 10% off on your bill. So
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, so that's there. This was the concept board. It will basically look like this, somewhat like this. It's the concept, and this
Yeah.
is what we want to do at Cogitate. That is what I was calling
Oh,
my cafe.
oh,
Yeah.
I have no words basically because I am from an engineering background, so I'm not much aware of these things. But I am very much intrigued by so much thought.
Hello.
Yeah, as I was saying, so much thought process is put behind, a single to design a single thing. So I feel that's like something really great that designers are doing out there. And yeah, that's really, really amazing, I feel. So the last question for today that I'm going to ask you, that anything else we should know about career of design? Any myth you would like to burst or insights you would like to provide related to your career, because also the feedbacks that you get, as you said, that you get a lot of feedbacks as a designer. So this is the world of a lot of opinions about a single thing. There are different opinions, so maybe you can share something on that how do you pick up that right suggestion and help yourself grow rather than from that pile of criticism that you get. So yeah.
So I'll talk about the criticism bit first. When you go into college, it's very new for you to, because all your life before, when you do something, you draw something, your parents and your teachers always applaud you. They always tell you, wow, this is so great. But when you get
Hmm.
into an ID or any design college, they will never actually say that it's great, because it's not. It's an endless process. You need to keep making prototyping and suiting to the user needs, and the user changes all the time because the times are changing. So if I need a laptop today, I might need a different kind of laptop tomorrow. I might need something else that's there in it. So it's a never ending process, and you need to keep iterating, right? So there's no, wow, this is great. It's always about criticism and how you can improve. So first, it's hard to take that on because you're not used to it, but later you kind of develop an attitude for it, and you yourself go and ask your faculties after some time, and even your batchmates, you know, you be like, oh, what do you have to say about this, where should I improve, and you want it because you want to make the best of what you can and give it to the audience or the user. And over a period of time you become your biggest critic, because at the end of your mind you know that this is something that you should be doing, and you kind of work for it. Also, which feedback to take from a range of feedbacks. Any feedback is welcome, first of all, and any feedback that helps my concept and helps me deliver greater value to my client or the audience or the user is welcome. Suppose I haven't thought of researching on some bit and they tell me about that, I will start. Suppose they have told me, you can also provide this extra thing and it's going to help the user, then I will think of how to, incorporate it or stuff like that. And anyway, like, because you want to make the best for what you're designing, right?
Definitely.
And and the myth buster about design is, if you're good at drawing, you'll be good at design. Biggest myth. I can't, like, because drawing is a tool that designers use to showcase their ideas. But basically, the main crux of being a designer is your concept and your ideas and how you think, how you solve problems, so, and how you innovate. So drawing and design are related only in terms of how you show it. Actually, I have had batchmates who can't draw at all, and you're taught that in design school. It's not a priority. It's just a medium for you to express yourself, and whatever medium you want. Like, some people express through materials, some people express through visuals, some people express through models. So it's up to you, and drawing is also just a medium. So that's a myth. And one more thing is that design is decoration. No, it is. After, I think, this interview, maybe some of you must have realized that design is not about decoration. It's more about the thought. So I want to tell you that the kind of projects that my college takes on is, the 20 and 50 rupees coins that have recently been minted and designed. They have been designed by some of my seniors. The Tejas, the bullet train that is there, our Indian bullet train, that the interior of it, the system of it has been designed by the transportation designers from college. And, like, one of the projects that we took on in foundation was for the women and child welfare department to increase the iron intake. And you design systems, and you design laws, you design the work culture in an organization, you design supply chains, and you sort of design everything. Obviously the visuals are a part of it, graphic design, and how something looks is a part of it, but also how something feels, how the users, even when you're having themed cafes, like you saw, the kind of feel that I want to give you when you enter, that is also a design. Experience is a design. So I can design an experience for you, I can design a feeling for you, by the lighting, by the kind of color scheme, by the kind of, so the mythbusters when it comes to design is, one of the biggest myths is, if you're good at drawing, you're going to be good at design, because drawing and design are completely different things. And drawing is like a medium that you use to express yourself. So basically, being a designer is about the thought, and drawing is a tool you use to convey that thought. So you can use drawing, or you can use 3D models, or you can use different materials, you can use visuals, or you can use a movie, or anything for that matter. You can even speak about it. It doesn't have to be, drawing. So drawing is a tool, and it's, when you get into college also, they teach you how to draw from scratch. So that's not the requirement for being a designer. The requirement for being a designer is your attitude and how you think, like I said before. So that's about it. And one more myth is that design is about the aesthetics of something, and it's about decoration. So when someone tells me that, ask me, oh, so you're doing fashion designing or you're doing interior designing, but people don't know that there is strategic design development, there is information design, how information is conveyed to people and how they will use it. So there was one faculty that came to us, and he had been designing, Hum Do Hamare Do campaign for Indian government. And uh, they had different posters that they did throughout the phases, and he told us when they went and tested the posters to, you know, truck drivers on the highways or different people in chawls, they realized how what you're trying to convey and what is being conveyed is different, because there was so that the poster had one woman, one man, so they were like stick figures, and then one girl, so with a ponytail, and a boy without a ponytail. So when they saw still our population was increasing a lot, there was a not use of proper procedures and stuff. So
Yeah.
they asked the people, why is this happening. They said that um तुम लोग ने तो बोला एक बेटी एक बेटा, but हमारी बेटी हो गई, अब बेटे के लिए we are taking chances, and then that way there were
Oh.
so many people. So the idea is being lost in the middle, and then they had to do research again, and then they had to ideate again, and then the entire campaign was to be made again. So it's about that. And there are projects which I want to tell you that the recently minted coins of 20 rupees and 50 rupees by our government, they have been designed by some of my seniors.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
the bullet train Tejas, which is our bullet train, the interiors of it, the aesthetic look of it, the system of how it will run, the where it will go, and all of it, the process has been designed by some of the transportation designers in college also, along with some faculties. And one of the projects we had was that since NID is in Ahmedabad, the Women and Child Welfare Department in our foundation approached us and said, ask these kids to design or do something in a way that the iron deficiency in women will be tackled. And then we
Hmm.
thought of these iron ingots that Colombia had used for their women, and now they don't have iron deficiency anymore. So we also designed some ingots that could be put when you're boiling water or you're making rice or something, and it'll leave the residue, and then you would get iron. So we thought about that. And design is obviously about the aesthetics of how it looks, and how 3D visuals, 2D visuals, the form of
Oh.
something. But it's also about the system. You can design entire systems of, there are designers who design the law and order of our country. There are designers who design the entire transportation system, the entire organization of a company, or the culture or the structure of the company. Like, what kind of hierarchy will be there, what kind of work
Mhm.
environment will be there, and what is best suited. There are researchers going on in doing this. In fact, the course I have right now is to design the future of workspaces after this pandemic. So we are working
Oh.
on doing research as of now, and then we will design workspaces. So not in the physical way only. We might design it virtually. We might design a system for a person to go throughout the day, so they are more productive, or they feel more up for it to work. And you
Mhm.
can also design, like we have a systems course also, where you design entire supply chains for things. And there was a Jawaja project by my college, where the art of making camel leather articles after the camels passed away was fading, and these art and craft practices were fading. So we went and developed an entire system for them and connected them to the market today, and gave them insights about the contemporary market and what is required exactly, because the kind of products that they were making were not catering to today's needs. So we went in, and our textile designers developed some things, and now they're up and again, and they're functioning, and they're economically independent now, that village. And there are other things also that happen. So I just want to say that like design is a lot more than decoration, and a lot more than the form and visuals of something, of any product or anything that's even online or virtual. It's about the feeling. I mean, yeah, this was one more thing. It's about, you can design experiences, you can design feelings. So if I want someone to feel very humbled when they enter a space,
Mm.
okay, and I'm designing that space, I will make the ceilings very tall, so they feel small. And that's why, like churches and temples have tall ceilings. You feel this,
Oh.
there's something bigger than me over there when you go there. And when you want the person to feel claustrophobic, you will have like dark environments and really small cramped up spaces. And you know uh, the lighting of a certain place, the kind of materials that are used, the kind of colors that are used in the place, they really help you to feel things, and designers can actually customize that according to the needs of that place. So like the themed cafe I did, I wanted people to feel more creative, I wanted them to think, and that's why the entire
Hmm.
environment was like that. So in some or the other way you would get thinking.
That's that's amazing, Isha. And as you boasted a lot of myths, this session was very informative. We learned a lot of things today, new concepts, new mythbusters. A lot. We were quite on a journey, I feel, and it was an honor to speak with you, Miss Isha. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So here we conclude our interview. For the viewers, you know the drill. Like, share, and subscribe.